WrestleMania 2000 on the N64 is one of the best wrestling video games of all time. In fact, it's personally my favorite wrestling video game ever. Game Boy Color version, on the other hand, that's a different story. At least a month after its N64 counterpart in November 1999. It was also published by THQ, but it was actually developed by Natsume. It was actually not a bad choice, as they made wrestling games in the past: Natsume Championship Wrestling and 2 Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling games for the SNES. They had also developed other Game Boy games in the past, like Ninja Gaiden Shadow and the Tony Hawk Game Boy Color ports, and they'd go on to make WWE titles for the GBA and Survivor Series and Road to WrestleMania X8. Now, the reason I'm talking about WrestleMania 2000 today, well, I've got quite a bit of nostalgia for this game. When I was a kid, my cousin had a copy, and whenever I was over at his house, I would play it. So, does the game still hold up? Let's figure it out. WrestleMania 2000 features a few different modes to play, with a few different match types. There's also a bio section for all of the roster, which, for a Game Boy game, is fairly impressive. You've got all the big hitters here: Austin, Rock, Taker, Kane, Triple H, Mankind, HBK, a solid selection of mid-carders in X-Pac, Val Venus, and Boss Man, the man who never drew a dime, Jeff Jarrett.
He broke 6,000 guitars, never drew a dime.
Big Show, and the New Age Outlaws. And you can also play as Vince McMahon after unlocking him through Championship Mode. Championship Mode is like the story mode for the game. You fight your way up the ranks to become Intercontinental Champion to WWF Champion. There's also a cool little promo segments and entrances in this mode. Unfortunately, there's no 8-bit renditions of the wrestlers' themes here, but that's kind of a limitation of the hardware. Versus mode is your standard pick up and play mode, where you can pick your own wrestler and opponent for a quick match. You can also decide whether or not the match is a cage match. Tag team, just like versus mode, but with 2 wrestlers who can tag in and out. Survivor Series is kind of a weird mix of a gauntlet match and a tag team match, as it's a 4-on-4 match, but each elimination is decided by a 1-on-1 match. It's a bit weird, but it's still a nice inclusion. Gauntlet match is one of the best modes in the game, in my opinion, because you pick your wrestler and then you must face off against the entire roster one after the other. This one is a good way to kill a decent amount of time, and it can get tough and intense. Training mode is a way for you to have a match against an opponent who doesn't fight back, a good way to get familiar with the controls, which do take some getting used to. There's a lot of stuff to be done with just a D-pad and 2 buttons. So looking at the entire package here, they actually managed to make a fairly competent and complete handheld wrestling experience. The game is fun, and while there's a little bit of a learning curve with the controls, it's not that daunting of a task to do, as the training mode that I mentioned earlier actually helps you learn pretty quick. One thing I haven't mentioned so far is the momentum meter that kind of goes up and down as the match progresses, similar to the spirit meter in the N64 version. This helps you go with the flow of the match before you hit your finisher, and it's actually really cool and adds a little bit of extra element to the gameplay. And that's not to say the game is perfect, it does have its flaws, one of those being how all of the wrestlers look a little too similar. Some of them even look like they just had a color swap on the trunks. They really could have done something there to make the wrestlers seem more unique, especially with all the movesets being the same minus the finisher. I also would have liked to have seen a Create a Wrestler mode. Around this time, that's when Create a Wrestler mode started to really get into the being like a staple of wrestling games, and it still is today. Personally, I always enjoy playing this game. I enjoy playing a lot of horrible wrestling games. I mean, that's why I'm sitting here talking about this right now. I wish that we had gotten to see the Game Boy Color version of No Mercy that was planned but canceled. It's pretty well known now that there was going to be a Game Boy Color interaction with the N64 transfer pack. There's an entire story mode that's kind of hidden away by a Game Shark code. No branching paths or anything, but I really would have loved to see how they made that work and what it was. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I suck at outros. Bye.